The Middle East just shifted again, and the world's oil artery may be reopening. A breakthrough agreement between the US and Iran promises to reshape security and energy dynamics across the region. Here's everything we know about this pivotal moment. Looking ahead, the immediate next steps involve the formal signing of the memorandum in Switzerland and the verification of commitments made by both parties. This agreement, while significant, raises critical questions about its longevity and effectiveness. Is this a durable peace or merely a temporary truce? The memorandum establishes mechanisms for managing conflict, yet past experiences in the region suggest that such frameworks can falter without genuine commitment from all sides. Concerns abound regarding Iran's willingness to comply with the terms, particularly given its history of perceived evasiveness and previous violations of international agreements. Furthermore, the United States' approach to sanctions and military presence in the region remains uncertain, as shifting American policy could reshape the geopolitical landscape. However, such changes also risk alienating key allies who rely on U.S. support for their security. Israel's response will be pivotal in shaping the future of this agreement. Will they accept this new framework or continue their unilateral operations against perceived threats? The dynamics of regional security hinge on this decision, as Israel's military actions could provoke further tensions. The impact on oil and shipping markets will be equally crucial. Any violations or delays in the agreement could rapidly reverse the recent drop in crude prices, which would affect global economic stability and consumer confidence. As the situation unfolds, observers should closely monitor public statements from both governments, along with reactions from regional allies and adversaries. The upcoming weeks will likely reveal whether this agreement can foster a more stable environment or if it will succumb to the same cycles of conflict that have historically plagued the region. The focus now shifts to the implementation phase, where concrete actions taken by all parties involved will ultimately determine if this memorandum can indeed pave the way for a lasting peace in this historically turbulent area. The groundwork for this agreement has been laid over the past several months, marked by a series of escalations and diplomatic efforts. The United States has faced increasing pressure to address the instability spreading throughout the Gulf and Levant, regions vital to global energy supplies and geopolitical stability. Following months of heightened military tensions and hostile exchanges, both the Trump administration and Iranian officials began signaling the potential for a diplomatic breakthrough. This shift came after numerous incidents, including attacks on oil tankers and drone strikes, which heightened fears of a wider conflict. Reports indicate that a flurry of negotiations took place behind closed doors, involving key regional players and major world powers, including the European Union and Russia, seeking to avert a larger conflict. Previous negotiations often failed due to deep-seated mistrust and the lack of enforceable terms. However, the current memorandum seeks to establish a framework that not only aims to cease hostilities, but also includes mechanisms for conflict management. This indicates a significant shift from purely reactive measures to a structured approach that emphasizes long-term stability. The seriousness of the negotiations is underscored by immediate market reactions, suggesting that investors view the talks as credible and substantive. The potential impact of this agreement could reshape the geopolitical landscape, fostering a more stable environment for trade and investment. It may also open avenues for further cooperation on pressing issues, such as counterterrorism and regional economic development. In the broader context, this agreement could serve as a catalyst for enhanced diplomatic relations among Gulf states, potentially reducing the influence of extremist factions. Looking ahead, if successful, this initiative could usher in a new era of diplomacy in the Middle East, fundamentally altering the region's approach to conflict resolution and international collaboration. The recent U.S.-Iran agreement marks a pivotal moment in international relations, with significant implications for global energy security. This deal is particularly important because the Strait of Hormuz serves as one of the world's most strategically vital energy choke points. Approximately 20% of the world's oil supply traverses this narrow passage, making its stability essential for maintaining global energy flow. Historically, Tensions in this region have led to disruptions in oil supply, causing price spikes that reverberate through economies worldwide. The reopening of the strait could indicate a reduction in hostilities and foster a more stable environment for maritime trade. The context surrounding this agreement is complex and deeply rooted in history. The relationship between the U.S. and Iran has been fraught with tension since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which significantly altered the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Recent escalations, particularly involving Israel and its neighboring countries, have heightened fears of a broader regional conflict. The potential for decreased tensions between the U.S. and Iran could significantly lower the risk of military confrontations, which would otherwise jeopardize the security of these vital shipping routes. The impact of this agreement extends beyond geopolitical stability. For consumers, fluctuations in oil prices can directly affect gas prices at the pump, increasing costs for transportation and goods. A more stable Strait of Hormuz may lead to lower oil prices, benefiting economies heavily reliant on energy imports, such as those in Europe and Asia. Moreover, the political ramifications of the agreement could reshape the balance of power in the Middle East, potentially altering the U.S.'s diplomatic leverage and impacting Israel's strategic operations in the region. Looking ahead, the implications of this agreement are profound. If the U.S. and Iran can sustain a constructive dialogue, it could pave the way for further diplomatic engagements, possibly addressing other contentious issues, such as Iran's nuclear program. However, the success of this agreement will depend on both nations and a commitment to uphold their obligations amidst ongoing regional complexities. The coming weeks will be critical as stakeholders assess the durability of this newfound accord and its potential to reshape the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East, setting the stage for a potentially transformative era in international relations. On June 17, 2026, reports surfaced that the United States and Iran reached a significant framework agreement, signaling a potential end to the immediate conflict between the two nations. The announcement was made via multiple outlets, indicating that the signing of this memorandum of understanding is expected to take place in Switzerland. The agreement is linked to a ceasefire and the reopening of the critical Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for global oil transport, through which approximately 20% of the world's oil passes daily. This breakthrough comes after years of escalating tensions marked by military skirmishes, hostile rhetoric, and economic sanctions that have strained relations between the two countries. Sources state that this pact is part of a broader de-escalation strategy aimed at curtailing tensions that have been escalating in the region, particularly following recent confrontations involving Iranian proxies in Lebanon and Gaza. Analysts had expressed concerns that these events could spiral into a wider regional conflict, drawing in various international players. The news of this agreement sent shockwaves through the financial markets, with oil prices dropping sharply to multi-month lows, while U.S. equities rallied in response to the perceived reduction in geopolitical risks. The potential for a more stable Middle East could have profound implications for global energy markets, diplomatic relations, and regional security dynamics. Investors are optimistic that the easing of hostilities may lead to increased oil supply and lower prices at the pump for consumers worldwide. However, skepticism remains regarding the durability of the agreement, given the history of failed negotiations. Unlike previous attempts at diplomacy, which often resulted in deadlock or temporary ceasefires, this agreement appears to offer a structured pathway toward long-term stability, making it a pivotal moment in the ongoing geopolitical landscape. Looking ahead, the focus will shift to the implementation of this agreement and the reactions from key players in the region, including Israel and Saudi Arabia, who may view this development with caution. The upcoming weeks will be critical in determining whether this framework can lead to lasting peace or if it will merely be another chapter in a long history of conflict. The world will be watching closely as the situation unfolds. As we consider the implications of this breakthrough agreement, what do you think? Is this a step towards lasting peace or just a temporary fix? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more in-depth analyses.